Mile marker 217. I wasn't supposed to be on that highway. The GPS rerouted me after a crash near Indianapolis, pushing me onto a 2-lane stretch of road I'd never heard of. It was past 1:30 a.m., the kind of hour when even truckers start disappearing and the world feels abandoned. My phone signal flickered between one bar and nothing. Trees lined both sides of the highway, thick and black, swallowing the beam of my headlights like they were absorbing light instead of reflecting it. That's when I passed mile marker 217. About 10 miles later, I saw it. A car on the shoulder. Hazards blinking. Hood up. I almost kept driving. There's this unspoken rule about night highways. Don't stop unless you absolutely have to. But as I got closer, I saw someone standing near the front of the vehicle. A woman. Early 20s, maybe. Long dark hair. White sweater. She looked still. Not pacing. Not waving. Just standing there like she'd been waiting. And as I passed, she slowly turned her head to follow me. My stomach tightened. I drove another half mile before guilt started crawling up my spine. What if she really needed help? No other cars had passed in 20 minutes. It was freezing outside. My dashboard read 34 degrees. I told myself I'd just circle back and check. I made a U-turn at a gravel patch in the road and headed back toward the blinking lights. But when I reached the spot again, there was nothing there. No car. No hazards. No woman. Just trees. I slowed almost to a stop. My headlights swept across the shoulder. No tire marks. No footprints in the thin frost near the ditch. It was like I'd imagined the whole thing. Then my radio crackled. It hadn't been on. Static filled the car, sharp, violent bursts, before settling into what sounded like breathing. Slow. Close. Wet. I reached for the dial, but the volume knob wasn't responding. The breathing grew louder. Then a whisper broke through the static. You shouldn't have come back. I slammed the radio off. Silence. My pulse was hammering in my ears now. I told myself it was interference. Rural frequencies. Old wiring. Anything logical. Then I checked my rearview mirror, and she was sitting in my backseat. Not moving. Just staring at me. I screamed and jerked the wheel. The car swerved across the center line before I corrected it. My heart was racing so hard I thought I'd black out. I didn't dare look back again. Not real, I whispered to myself. You're tired. You're hallucinating. Slowly, I forced myself to look in the mirror again. The back seat was empty. I laughed, but it came out shaky. That's when my dashboard lights flickered. And my engine died. The car rolled to a stop. Right beside mile marker 217. My blood turned cold. I hadn't realized how far I'd driven, but somehow, without noticing, I was back at the exact same spot where I first saw her. The trees around the marker seemed taller now. Leaning inward. My headlights dimmed, then brightened again. And in front of my car, standing directly in the beam, was the woman. Smiling. She wasn't blinking. Her head tilted slightly to the side, like she was studying me. The smile stretched too wide, pulling at her cheeks unnaturally. Then she began walking toward my car. Slow. Controlled. Not a single sound from her feet against the asphalt. My doors were locked. I checked twice. She stopped inches from my driver's side window. And knocked. 3 slow taps. I couldn't breathe. Her eyes weren't normal. They were too dark. No reflection. No white. Just black. Her lips parted slowly. And though I couldn't hear her through the glass, I knew exactly what she said. Let me in. Her lips moved again. Slow. Deliberate. Let me in. I shook my head violently, gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles burned. The engine wouldn't turn over. I twisted the key again and again. Nothing but a dry clicking sound. The headlights flickered, dimming just enough to make her face blur at the edges. Then she knocked again. 3 slow taps. This time, harder. Her smile faded. Not into anger. Into disappointment. And somehow, that was worse. She leaned closer to the glass, her breath fogging the window from the outside. I could see faint cracks spreading across the windshield, thin spiderweb fractures forming from nowhere. The air inside my car felt colder by the second. I could see my own breath now. Then the passenger door handle moved. Once. Twice. Slowly lifting and dropping. I locked it, I whispered. I locked it. The radio exploded back to life. Not static this time. A voice. My voice. Just let her in. I froze. The voice coming through the speakers was a perfect copy of me. Same tone, same rhythm, but calmer. Colder. She's been waiting, the voice continued. You saw her. You turned around. That means you chose. My chest tightened. Chose what? Outside, she stepped back from the window. Her smile returned. And then she vanished. Not walked away. Not faded. Just gone. My breathing turned ragged. I scanned every mirror, every shadow beyond the windshield. Nothing. The radio went silent again. 4-5 long seconds. Then from directly behind my ear, a whisper. You left me here. I spun around. She was sitting in the backseat again. Closer this time. Leaning forward between the seats, her face inches from mine. Her eyes were completely black now. No pupil. No iris. Just endless darkness swallowing any trace of light. Her skin looked wrong. Not pale, grey. Like something that hadn't seen warmth in years. And she smelled like wet earth. I didn't. My voice cracked. I don't know you. Her head tilted. You do. The dashboard lights flared bright white, blinding me for a split second. When they dimmed again, she was gone from the back seat. But the passenger door was open. Cold air poured in. And there were wet footprints on the floor mat. Leading out. Before I could react, the engine roared back to life. On its own. The headlights intensified, illuminating the road ahead in harsh clarity. And that's when I saw something I hadn't noticed before. Across the asphalt, just ahead of my bumper, were dozens of dark stains. Old ones. Long streaks dragged across the road surface, as if something heavy had been pulled. Again. And again. And again. All beginning near mile marker 217. My stomach dropped. I looked at the mile marker again. And beneath the number 217, scratched into the metal, were names. Dozens of them. Carved deep. Some old and rusted over. Some fresh. At the very bottom. My name. I stumbled out of the car without thinking. The air was freezing, biting through my jacket. My breath fogged wildly as I stepped toward the sign. My name wasn't just scratched. It looked gouged. Like it had been carved with something sharp. Recently. Behind me, my car door slowly creaked shut. I turned. The woman was standing beside my car now. But she wasn't smiling anymore. She looked sad. Almost human. You came back, she said softly. I was left here, she continued. And every driver who turns around takes my place. My pulse pounded in my ears. What does that mean? Her black eyes flicked toward the mile marker. You saw me. The trees around us began to rustle violently, though there was no wind. The fog thickened, wrapping around my legs like something alive. You stopped. The headlights shut off. Total darkness swallowed the road. And now, she whispered from somewhere impossibly close. You stay. The new driver. The last thing I heard before the trees swallowed me was the hum of that approaching engine. Headlights swept across the road, cutting through the fog in long white beams. Tires rolled slowly over asphalt scarred with old drag marks. The car hesitated as it neared mile marker 217. Then it stopped. Through the branches, through the suffocating dark, I could still see the glow of those headlights. And I wasn't alone anymore. I was standing beside the road. I didn't remember walking there. Didn't remember escaping the thing that dragged me. But I was upright. Cold. Still. My body felt wrong. Lighter somehow. Empty in places that should have been solid. The woman stood a few feet away from me now. No, not the woman. The previous one. Her eyes weren't black anymore. They were normal. Terrified. Relieved. You understand now, she whispered. I looked down at my hands. They were pale. Too pale. When I tried to flex my fingers, they moved, but the motion felt delayed, like I was controlling someone else's limbs. What did you do to me? I asked. She didn't answer. Instead, she looked toward the stopped car. Inside was a young man. Mid-30s. Baseball cap. Phone pressed to his ear. I could hear his voice faintly. Yeah, GPS sent me some weird way. No, I think I saw someone back there. His door opened. The previous woman stepped backward toward the trees. Her body was becoming translucent. You turned around, she said softly. So you stay. Panic surged through me. No. No, that's not how this works. She gave me the smallest, saddest smile. It is now. And then she was gone. Not vanished. Released. The cold that had wrapped around her transferred into me like ice water filling a hollow shell. The man from the car squinted toward the tree line. "Hello," he called out. "Are you okay?" I tried to scream. Instead, my mouth moved on its own. "Help me." The words came out perfectly. Weak. Trembling. Human. He stepped closer. That's when I realized something horrifying. I wasn't choosing what to say. Something was choosing for me. "I think my car broke down," I heard myself say. "Can you help me?" The man hesitated. "Good. Leave. Just leave." But guilt is powerful at 2 a.m. He walked closer. "I don't see a car," he said slowly. And that's when the illusion formed. Behind me, on the shoulder of the road, hazard lights blinked to life. A car. My car. Hood up. Steam rising from the engine. The man exhaled sharply. "Jesus. You scared me." I tried to move. Tried to run. But my feet were locked in place beside mile marker 217. My eyes drifted to the sign. The names carved into it shimmered faintly. At the very bottom. My name glowed, then settled into the metal like it had always been there. Permanent. The man reached me. Up close, I could see the kindness in his expression. Concern. The same guilt that had made me turn around. "Let's get you warm," he said. His hand touched my arm. And the world snapped. Everything flipped. Suddenly, I was standing beside the road again, but not inside my body. I was back in the trees. Watching. My body, the version of me with pale skin and hollow eyes, now stood still beside the mile marker. And the man. He was frozen. Eyes wide. Breath shallow. The pale version of me smiled. The same unnatural stretch I had seen earlier. Then it leaned close to the man and whispered something I couldn't hear. The man's expression changed. From fear to emptiness. His shoulders relaxed. His breathing slowed. He turned slowly toward the trees. And began walking. "No." I screamed from the darkness. But no sound came. He passed right through where I stood, and as he did, a crushing cold slammed into me again. The forest disappeared. The road returned. The headlights faded into nothing. And I was standing beside mile marker 217 once more. Alone. Waiting. In the distance, another pair of headlights approached. Slowly. And this time, when I raised my hand to signal for help, I didn't try to stop myself. Don't stop at mile marker 66. I wasn't supposed to be on that highway. It was 2:13 a.m. when I passed the last gas station outside Amarillo, Texas. The cashier had looked at me strangely when I told him where I was headed. "Taking Route 66?" he asked. "Yeah," I said. "Why?" He hesitated. Then he said something I wish I had taken seriously. "Whatever you do, don't stop at mile marker 66. I laughed. I shouldn't have. The road ahead was empty. No headlights. No taillights. Just black pavement cutting through darker desert. And that's when my radio died. The static wasn't normal. It wasn't white noise. It sounded layered. Like whispers overlapping each other. Dozens of voices speaking at once, too low to understand. I smacked the radio. It cut out completely. Silence. Not even wind. Have you ever driven somewhere so isolated that it feels like the world ended and no one told you? That's what Route 66 felt like that night. The GPS lost signal 5 minutes later. Then my headlights flickered. At first I thought it was my alternator. But when the lights dimmed, I saw something ahead in the darkness. A shape. Standing near the right shoulder. Too tall. Too thin. Completely still. I slowed down instinctively. Big mistake. As my car approached, the figure didn't move. Didn't wave. Didn't step back. It just stood there. Facing me. And I couldn't see its face. Because it didn't have one. I slammed the gas pedal. The engine roared. The figure didn't react. But as I passed it, I swear to God, it turned its head. And there was nothing there. No eyes. No mouth. Just smooth skin where a face should have been. I didn't look in the rearview mirror. I didn't want to. but something in my chest told me I needed to. So I did. It wasn't on the shoulder anymore. It was standing in the middle of the road, watching my car disappear. That's when I saw the sign. Mile marker 66. I hadn't realized how far I'd driven. My gas light turned on. Of course it did. I muttered under my breath and glanced at the gauge. Almost empty. That didn't make sense. I had just filled up. Then I saw something that made my stomach drop. The odometer. It wasn't counting up. It was counting down. Slowly. Tick, tick, tick. Like a timer. The car began to slow down on its own. I pressed the gas. Nothing. The steering wheel stiffened. The engine went quiet. I rolled to a stop directly beside the mile marker 66 sign. And that's when my headlights shut off completely. Total darkness. Not even moonlight. Just black. Then came the knock. 3 slow taps. On my driver's side window. I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. Another 3 taps. Slower this time. I forced myself to look left. There was someone standing beside my door. But it wasn't the tall faceless thing. This one looked human. An older man. Highway patrol uniform. Smiling. Car trouble, he mouthed. I couldn't hear him, but I could see his lips move. Relief washed over me, until I noticed something wrong. His badge. It was melted, like wax, and dripping. He tapped the glass again. Harder. Crack. A thin fracture spidered across the window. My door handles wouldn't unlock. My phone had no signal. He leaned closer, and I saw his reflection in my side mirror. Except, in the mirror, he didn't look human. His face was stretched, jaw unhinged, eyes hollow, smiling far too wide. The knocking turned into pounding. The windshield began to fracture. My ears rang. And then, everything stopped. Silence. My headlights flickered back on. The engine roared to life. The odometer reset. 123,441 miles. Normal. The gas tank? Half full. I looked around. No officer. No faceless figure. Just desert. I almost convinced myself it was stress. Sleep deprivation. Hallucination. Until I looked at the road ahead. There were cars. Dozens of them. Parked along the shoulder. Old models. Covered in dust. Every single one abandoned. Doors open. Engines gone. And beside each car was a mile marker 66 sign. Over. And over. And over. My GPS came back online. But it didn't show Route 66 anymore. It showed a single red dot. Right where I was. And text that read, "You should have kept driving." Then the radio came back. The whispers were clear now. They were all saying the same thing. Stay. My headlights dimmed again. And this time, they didn't come back on. That was 3 years ago. They found my car near Amarillo. Engine cold. Keys still inside. No damage. No signs of struggle. But they never found me. And if you ever drive Route 66 at night, and your gas gauge suddenly drops, whatever you do, don't stop at mile marker 66. Because the thing that stands there isn't asking for help. It's waiting for company. When my headlights died the second time, I realized something. The darkness wasn't natural. It wasn't just the absence of light. It felt thick. Like fog without moisture. Like ink poured over the world. I couldn't see the dashboard. Couldn't see my hands. But I could still hear the whispers. Closer now. Not from the radio. From outside the car. Surrounding it. Circling. Soft footsteps dragging across gravel. And then, breathing. Right beside my door. I told myself not to panic. Engines restart. Batteries glitch. Electronics fail. That's normal. But gravel doesn't crunch in perfect circles around your car unless something is walking. Slowly. Deliberately. The breathing moved from the driver's side to the hood. Then to the passenger door. Then directly behind me. I refused to look. The rearview mirror was just a black void anyway. Then something touched the trunk. A heavy thud. Like someone leaning their full weight against it. My phone suddenly lit up in my lap. No signal. No bars. But a notification appeared. Unknown number. One new voicemail. I didn't press anything. It opened by itself. Static. Then a voice. My voice. Breathing heavily. Whispering. Don't turn around. My blood froze. Because I wasn't whispering. And I wasn't breathing like that. The voicemail timestamp read, 3 years from now. The car doors unlocked. All of them. Simultaneously. Click. 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 I grabbed the handle and locked it again. Immediately. Click. Unlocked. The back door slowly creaked open. I didn't touch it. Cold air poured in. Except it wasn't desert air. It smelled damp. Earthy. Like a basement that had never seen sunlight. Then the whispers stopped. Completely. Silence. Which somehow felt worse. A hand slid onto the edge of the back seat. Long fingers. Too many joints. Bending wrong. I still couldn't see the body attached to it. Just that hand gripping the upholstery. Slowly tightening. The seat fabric began to tear. Threads snapping one by one. I forced myself not to look back. Because the voicemail, my voice, had warned me, don't turn around. Then the car shifted. Weight settling into the back seat. Something was sitting behind me. Close enough that I could feel its breath on my neck. Cold. Wet. It whispered one word. Stay. The same word from the radio. The GPS flickered back on. The screen no longer showed a map. Just a live camera feed. From inside my car. Except, in the feed, I wasn't alone. The camera showed the thing clearly. Tall. Bone thin. Skin stretched too tight over a frame that bent unnaturally. And its face was mine. Distorted. Smiling. It leaned forward in the screen. But I didn't feel it move in real life. On the screen, it opened its mouth wider. Wider. Jaw splitting past human limits. And inside its mouth was a dark highway. Stretching infinitely. With thousands of cars parked along it. Each beside a mile marker 66 sign. Each car with someone sitting inside. Frozen. Waiting. Then I understood. The cars weren't abandoned. They were occupied. We just couldn't see each other. Because we weren't in the same version of the road. The thing's hand touched my shoulder. This time I felt it. Ice cold. Heavy. Real. The GPS screen displayed new text. Driver replacement complete. And suddenly, I could see again. But not from my seat. From the back seat. Through hollow eyes. I was looking at myself gripping the steering wheel. Breathing fast. Panicking. The version of me in the driver's seat slowly turned around. And his face was gone. Smooth. Blank. Waiting. That's when I realized the truth. Mile marker 66 isn't a location. It's a rotation. Something stands there. It waits for a driver low on gas. Low on sleep. Alone. It doesn't kill you. It trades places. And once you're in the back seat, you start whispering to the next one. You drain their gas. You glitch their radio. You make them slow down. You make them stop. Because you don't want to sit in the dark forever. You want your seat back. The headlights flicked on one last time. From the driver's seat, I watched myself, no, the thing, step out of the car. It stretched, adjusted its shoulders, then looked back at me through the rear window, and smiled with my face. It closed the door, locked it, and walked down the highway toward approaching headlights in the distance. Another car. Another tired driver. Another replacement. The engine turned off, and I felt the car roll forward slightly. But there was no one in the front anymore. Because now, I was the one in the back. Waiting. 3 years from now, someone will receive a voicemail. From their own voice. Telling them not to turn around. I hope they listen. Because if they don't, I might finally get to drive again. If this story made you feel uncomfortable, that's not an accident. Subscribe now, because the next campground story is even worse. And comment "I'm still here" if you'd never survive a night like this.